Replacing old Romex wiring doesn't always require tearing down your walls. The technique of fishing wires allows you to run new Romex through existing wall cavities. This involves using tools and techniques to guide the new wire from one electrical box to another, or from a box to an access point in the wall. You can use existing holes in studs or framing members to pass the wire. If necessary, you can drill new holes to create a pathway. Careful planning and execution are crucial for successful wire fishing. You'll need to identify the locations of electrical boxes and any obstructions within the walls. Consider using a fish tape or wire snake to navigate the wire through the wall cavity. If the old Romex is in relatively good condition and securely fastened, you may be able to use it to pull the new wire through. Attach the new wire to the old wire, making sure the connection is secure. Then, gently pull the old wire from the other end, drawing the new wire along with it. However, if the old Romex is severely damaged, brittle, or improperly installed, it may be necessary to remove sections of the wall access and replace it safely. Damaged wiring can pose a fire hazard and should be addressed promptly. Consider the following factors when determining if wall removal is necessary. Firstly, the condition of the existing Romex. If the insulation is cracked, brittle, or missing, it's a sign of significant deterioration. Secondly, the presence of any rodent damage. Rodents can chew on wires, exposing the conductors and creating a safety hazard. Thirdly, improper installation techniques. If the Romex was not properly secured or protected during the initial installation, it may be more susceptible to damage. Fourthly, the accessibility of the wiring. If the wiring is located in a difficult-to-reach area, it may be easier to remove a section of the wall for better access. Fifthly, the age of the wiring. Older Romex may be more prone to deterioration and should be inspected carefully. Before starting any electrical work, it's crucial to turn off the power to the circuit at the main breaker panel. This will prevent electrical shock. Use a voltage tester to confirm that the power is off before touching any wires. Wear appropriate safety gear, including safety glasses and gloves. When fishing wires, be careful not to damage any existing wiring or plumbing. Avoid pulling or tugging on the wires excessively, as this can damage the insulation or cause the wires to break. If you encounter any obstructions, try to maneuver the wire around them carefully. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's important to ensure that it's done correctly to prevent fires and other hazards. Before beginning any electrical project, familiarize yourself with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and local electrical codes. These codes provide specific requirements for electrical installations, including wire sizing, grounding, and overcurrent protection. The NEC Table 310.15b16 provides ampacity ratings for various types of conductors. It is very important to choose the correct wire size for the amperage of the circuit. Using undersized wire can cause the wire to overheat and create a fire hazard. Also, proper grounding is essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. All electrical boxes and equipment must be properly grounded. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to protect the wiring from overloads and short circuits. They will trip and interrupt the circuit if the current exceeds a certain level. Be sure to use the correct size circuit breaker or fuse for the circuit. When connecting wires, use approved connectors and make sure the connections are tight. Loose connections can cause overheating and arcing. Use wire nuts to connect wires together. Make sure the wire nuts are properly sized for the number and gauge of wires being connected. Wrap electrical tape around the wire nuts to provide additional insulation and protection. Secure the Romex to the studs or framing members using staples or cable ties. Be careful not to damage the insulation when stapling the Romex. Leave enough slack in the wires at each electrical box to allow for easy connection and maintenance. The NEC requires a minimum of 6 inches of free conductor length at each outlet, switch, or junction box. When drilling holes for the Romex, be careful not to drill through any existing wiring or plumbing. Use a stud finder to locate the studs and avoid drilling into them. If you encounter any asbestos-containing materials, such as insulation or drywall, stop work immediately and contact a qualified asbestos abatement contractor. Asbestos is a hazardous material that can cause serious health problems. After completing the wiring, test the circuit to make sure it's working properly. Use a circuit tester to verify that the outlets and switches are wired correctly. If you find any problems, troubleshoot the wiring and correct any errors. Finally, label the circuit breaker in the main breaker panel so you know which circuit it controls. This will make it easier to turn off the power to the circuit in the future. Electrical work can be complex and challenging. If you're not comfortable doing it yourself, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. A professional electrician will have the knowledge, skills, and experience to ensure that the work is done safely and correctly. Also, consider the voltage of the electrical system. In residential settings, you will often encounter 120 volts and 240 volt circuits. 120 volt circuits are typically used for lighting, receptacles, and small appliances. 240 volt circuits are used for larger appliances, such as electric stoves, dryers, and water heaters. You may also find 277 volts and 480 volts in commercial or industrial buildings, as these circuits are used for high-power equipment and lighting. When working with electrical wiring, it's essential to understand the different types of wire and their applications. Romex, also known as non-metallic sheath cable, is commonly used for residential wiring. It consists of 2 or more insulated conductors enclosed in a plastic sheath. THHN wire is a type of insulated wire that is often used inside conduit. Conduit is a metal or plastic tube that protects the wires from damage. Different colors are used to identify the different conductors in an electrical circuit. Black wire is typically used for the hot conductor, white wire is used for the neutral conductor, and green or bare copper wire is used for the ground conductor. Always follow the color code when wiring electrical circuits. Before making any electrical connections, make sure the power is turned off to the circuit. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before touching any wires. Never work on live electrical circuits. This can result in serious injury or death. If you're unsure about any aspect of electrical work, consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide guidance and assistance to ensure that the work is done safely and correctly. Remember, electrical safety is paramount. Always take precautions to protect yourself and others from electrical shock and fire hazards.